Hello and good morning, everyone. On behalf of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the Board of Public Utilities, and the Economic Development Authority, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend today's webinar focused on manufacturing, clean energy generation, our clean energy supply chain, and the New Jersey Green Bank for New Jersey's next Regional Greenhouse Gas Strategic Funding Plan. My name is Helene Barr, and I have the pleasure of being your moderator for the next hour and a half today. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I am the Assistant Director of Climate Change, Clean Energy, and Sustainability at the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. And I oversee an awesome team of folks who are dedicated to helping the state achieve its greenhouse gas reduction goals. And in particular, one of our biggest tasks is to manage New Jersey's participation in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. So today you're going to hear a lot about the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, affectionately known as RGGI. So you're going to hear that term a lot. And at this webinar, you'll learn about the state's current investment of auction proceeds in climate, clean energy, and equity projects. And we'll be discussing how the state could prioritize funding for our workforce, for clean manufacturing and clean energy, for our future investments that are slated for 2026 through 2028. Before I jump in, though, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items for folks. So as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and by attending, you consent to be recorded. A recording of this webinar will be made available on our website, and we will share the link to that webinar after the event is complete. You're more than welcome to revisit this content yourself and to share with anyone else, like your community members or colleagues or anyone that might be interested in providing feedback. All online participants are currently muted. We will be having a facilitated comment session at the end of the webinar, and at that point, we'll discuss how you can express your comments. In the meantime, though, you can also drop comments in at any time into the chat box. We do ask folks, though, to be respectful in the chat, to keep the comments on topic to ensure that we're really getting meaningful feedback for our next funding plan. And if you choose to speak, please just be courteous of other participants and allow time for others to provide comment. With that, I'm going to talk about what's on the agenda today. So first up, you will hear from Dan Fatton, who is the Director of Clean Energy at the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, and he's going to provide an introductory welcome. Next, you'll hear from Anthony Bavlakwa, who is the Bureau Chief of Climate Change and Clean Energy at the department. He's going to provide an overview of our Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative and New Jersey's process for developing a strategic funding plan. Following this, you're going to hear from representatives from the Economic Development Authority and the Green Bank. And they're going to be discussing 3 brand new ideas of how we could invest RGGI funds, as well as our longstanding RGGI initiative, which is the Green Bank. For each initiative, they're going to go over the sources of greenhouse gas emissions, the policy landscape for that initiative with a focus on any existing initiatives, and provide details about how projects and programs could fund those initiatives or new ones. And then finally, we're going to end our webinar today with an opportunities for attendees to voice their comments about the proposed initiatives. So these comments will be utilized in developing our final strategic funding plan, which is slated to be released later this fall. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Director Fatton.
Thank you, Helene, and good morning. My name is Dan Fatton. I'm the Director of Clean Energy here at the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. I've been here for about 2.5 years, but I'm a lifelong Jersey, born and bred resident, and really excited to talk with you all this morning. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining this conversation. Today, you're going to hear several proposals for New Jersey to continue investing in clean energy programs that reduce costs for residents and businesses. The draft scoping plan highlights a few new initiatives, as Helene mentioned. We believe that the draft plan will help drive down greenhouse gas emissions, but importantly, it will also help us reduce overall energy demand and reduce energy costs for everyone. This plan proposes programs that can help New Jersey businesses decarbonize and reduce their own energy bills. But it also proposes deploying RGGI dollars to help bring in new clean energy generation through support for storage, solar, wind, and other renewable energy projects that will increase our in-state energy generation. At the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, we believe that investing in these programs can help businesses reduce operating costs, strengthen our communities, and make the investments that will drive economic growth. Yes, we are investing dollars into grant and financing programs to reduce greenhouse gases, but we're also freeing up capital that can be used by New Jersey small businesses and others to hire more workers. We invite and welcome your feedback throughout the session using the Q&A tool, and hope you will consider submitting formal comments to underscore what you like about the plan or let us know if we're missing something. If you have a project or a proposal that you think could fit into one of these initiatives, please submit your feedback so we can learn about these opportunities and keep them in mind as we refine program parameters. As a reminder, the deadline for comments is September 22nd, but we want to thank you again for your participation in the session today and look forward to hearing from you. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Anthony.
Thanks, Dan and Helene, and thanks for everyone for joining us today. I am Anthony Pavakwa. I'm the Bureau Chief here at the Department for our Bureau of Climate Change and Clean Energy. Next slide, please. So RGGI, or the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, is a market-based carbon dioxide emissions trading system, commonly referred to as a cap and invest program. This regional program is a cooperative effort among several states with a common objective to drive down carbon dioxide emissions in the power sector. RGGI as a whole is made up of individual state respective CO2 budget trading programs based on the common RGGI model rule that undergoes iterative updates over time. Each participating RGGI state adopts their own version of this rule based on their specific legislative and rule adoption requirements. What makes this program unique, other than being the first of its kind in the US when it was launched in 2009, is that it leverages state-level regulation collaboratively to create a robust regional market for emissions trading and investment, spanning multiple state, energy system, and regional economic territories. Regulated entities are subject to compliance regulations based on the state they are located within. For example, electric generators that qualify under this program that are operating in New Jersey are required to confirm their allowance holdings with the department based on the tons of carbon dioxide they emit over a compliance period. Allowances are sold in regional quarterly auction. These allowances are originated by the participating states, and in turn, states receive the proceeds from the sale of these allowances. Each participating state invests their proceeds as determined by state-specific programs centered around reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The regional cap of available allowances is based on the emissions contributions across all participating states, and they decline over time. This decline, along with market mechanisms, supply and demand, and other drivers, send price signals to the electric generators in the energy market with the objective of reducing fossil-fired generation over time. States invest the proceeds from allowance sales into programs and initiatives that further reduce greenhouse gas emissions while benefiting stakeholders and communities. Next slide, please. Here in New Jersey, the Global Warming Solutions Fund Act, passed in 2008, established New Jersey's CO2 budget trading rule and determined how New Jersey's auction proceeds are allocated across agencies. These agencies and their respective funding lanes include 60% of proceeds to the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, 20% to the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, targeting energy cost savings, and 20% to the Department of Environmental Protection, split evenly between programs that fund local government and forest and tidal marsh stewardship and restoration. Next slide, please. Thank you. The strategic funding plan bridges the gap between agencies receiving RGGI proceeds and the establishment of strategic funding initiatives and subsequent on-the-ground programs that optimize the use of New Jersey's RGGI monies. The strategic funding plan sets the state's priorities for the investments and is jointly developed by EDA, BPU, and DEP every 3 years. Leveraging interagency coordination and common objectives, the strategic funding plan identifies initiatives that will be funded by RGGI proceeds to support meeting the state's climate mitigation, clean energy, environmental justice, and economic development goals. An initiative is a funding strategy to advance one or more of the objectives identified in the Global Warming Solutions Fund rule. The plan also ranks the importance of each objective for each funding initiative and summarizes the results achieved from previous funding investments. To ensure sufficient stakeholder engagement is conducted, the agencies are required to hold 4 public meetings prior to the release of the plan. Next slide, please. As directed by the New Jersey Global Warming Solutions Fund rule and Governor Murphy's Executive Order number 7, the strategic funding plan objectives include the following: a net reduction in greenhouse gas emissions or a net sequestration of carbon, significant reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, reduction of ratepayer impact, and a significant contribution to the achievement of the state's 2050 Global Warming Response Act limits, a reduction in energy use, and be directly responsive to the recommendations submitted by the department to the legislature pursuant to the Global Warming Response Act, provide co-benefits, and finally, be directly responsive to the negative effects on human health and the environment in communities that are disproportionately impacted by the effects of environmental degradation and climate change. Next slide, thank you. Upon New Jersey re-entering the regional RGGI program, the initial strategic funding plan for years 2020 through 2022 included the following 4 initiatives: catalyze clean, equitable transportation, promote blue carbon in coastal habitats, enhance forests and urban forests, and create the New Jersey Green Bank. The second iteration of the strategic funding plan was launched in July of 2023 and included the following initiatives: accelerate healthy homes and building decarbonization, catalyze clean, equitable transportation, promote blue carbon in coastal habitats, and strengthen New Jersey's forests. Next slide. As of earlier this month, the New Jersey RGGI program has raised over $976 million since rejoining the initiative in 2020. Following the initiatives described earlier, to date, these 3 agencies have dedicated more than $236 million of proceeds that have been received by projects that will mitigate climate change. BPU has also dedicated approximately $125 million to ratepayer relief. Furthermore, agencies have a committed pipeline of more than $293 million in additional RGGI funds that are anticipated to support a variety of projects across initiatives in the current strategic funding plan, bringing the total of New Jersey RGGI investments to date to more than $650 million, which is roughly 70% of total proceeds generated. This has resulted in 398 funded projects, which include 912 electric vehicles being incentivized, 24,000 trees planted, 56 acres of restored forest, and then 155 acres of restored wetlands, with a bottom line of over 742,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent avoided. This data, along with other supporting information, is made available on our RGGI website and climate investment dashboard, which are linked in this presentation. Next slide. Thank you. Now that we've covered some background, I'm excited to introduce the initiatives being proposed in the new strategic funding plan scoping document for years 2026 through 2028. The table on your screen illustrates these initiatives and indicates the agency sponsors who will provide a brief overview in today's webinar. Agencies are proposing to continue to fund 5 initiatives that were included in previous strategic funding plans and have also proposed 4 new funding initiatives. Next slide. Initiatives being continued include catalyze clean, equitable transportation, accelerate healthy homes and building decarbonization, promote blue carbon and tidal wetlands, strengthen New Jersey's forests, and sustain and grow the New Jersey Green Bank. New initiatives include supplement ratepayer relief, expand clean energy generation, transmission, storage, and grid resilience, mobilize clean manufacturing and industry, and finally, enhance the clean energy supply chain, workforce, and technology development. With that, allow me to introduce Carrie McNeely. Take it away. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Good morning. My name is Carrie McNeely, and I'm a Senior Project Officer at the New Jersey Green Bank. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm excited to talk more about our mission-driven bank. Next slide, please. The New Jersey Green Bank is unique in that it can invest across technology categories and really tackle most of the leading emission sectors across the state. We target investments in projects that result in reduced emissions in the transportation, electric generation, commercial, and industrial sectors. Next slide, please. So for some high-level background on the Green Bank, the New Jersey Green Bank was officially created in April of 2024, and we've been building out the organization over the last 15 or so months. We are deploying $100 million in RGGI funds and another $40 million in state-appropriated funding into clean energy projects via our first offering, the state debt product, which I'll speak to in greater detail in later slides. But through this product, we can offer loans between $1 and $20 million for projects tackling clean energy generation, battery storage, building retrofits, new net zero building construction, and zero emission vehicles and their related charging and fueling infrastructure. Next slide, please. So before I talk about the details of the New Jersey Green Bank, I think it's helpful to kind of set the stage and say, and ask the question, what is a green bank? Green banks are mission-driven institutions that use innovative financing to accelerate the transition to clean energy and fight climate change. So what does this mean? Being mission-driven means that green banks have targeted investment focus that prioritize deploying clean energy rather than maximizing investment returns. Green banks use financing and not grants. Financing means that capital is eventually expected to be returned or repaid, and this helps to maximize the investment of each dollar that a green bank deploys. When these loans are repaid, the money can be reinvested into additional clean energy projects, which maximizes the impact of our investments. There are a growing number of green banks nationwide, and many green banks have been operational for decades. The Connecticut Green Bank, for example, was founded in 2011 and is the oldest green bank in the country. The New York Green Bank was founded in 2013 and is now the largest operational green bank in the US. We're lucky to have strong relationships with these and many other green banks across the country, and we can learn from their expertise. Next slide, please. Now onto the specifics for this green bank. The New Jersey Green Bank is New Jersey's sole green bank, and this is a subsidiary of the state's Economic Development Authority. The New Jersey Green Bank aims to use climate-related investments and financial assistance to mobilize private capital to accelerate the adoption of clean energy, advance the state's climate goals, and reduce the cost of energy for all utility ratepayers in New Jersey. How do we do this? We do this by investing in technologies, including renewable energy generation, electric battery storage, building retrofits, and new net zero building constructions, and zero emission vehicles and their related charging and fueling infrastructure. Our charter allows us to support clean energy projects by offering loans, credit enhancements, or by making equity investments. As I alluded to earlier, we have 3 funding sources. We have $40 million in state appropriated funds, $50 million in funding from the RGGI 2020 to 2022 allocation, and $50 million from the 2023 to 2025 allocation. We were also awarded $101 million of federal grant funds from the EPA's National Clean Investment Fund. This funding, however, is currently inaccessible due to ongoing litigation. Next slide, please. Onto a timeline. Now I'd like to give a little bit of background about what the New Jersey Green Bank has done to date. In 2019, Governor Murphy's Energy Master Plan called for the establishment of a state green bank to mirror successful initiatives launched by Connecticut and New York, among other states. From 2022 to 2023, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority staff conducted feasibility studies, met with partner state institutions, and laid the groundwork to launch the New Jersey Green Bank. At the end of 2023, the EDA released a request for expression of interest to ask the public to identify specific sites, projects, or assets that are interested in financial support. Next slide, please. The RFEI was released at the end of December and called for responses by mid-January. In that short time, we had over 20 respondents, and these example projects requested more than $250 million in capital. Projects submitted relied on electric vehicles, clean energy generation, energy storage, and building decarbonization technologies. And these responses helped to inform the scope of our first product offering, which is the state debt product. And I'll speak to that in more detail shortly. Next slide, please. Back to our timeline. In 2024, the New Jersey Green Bank officially became a reality when it was established in April, and we began hiring staff to help carry out the bank's mission. We also spent the latter half of 2024 negotiating the terms of our $101 million in federal funding from the EPA's National Clean Investment Fund competition. This capital, along with $50 million in RGGI funds, was transferred to the Green Bank in October, and these funds were intended to sustain the Green Bank. Next slide, please. In February of 2025, those federal funds that we hope to deploy within 12 months were frozen, and the status of those funds remains unknown. Given that, the EDA transferred an additional $50 million of RGGI funds to New Jersey Green Bank in April of 2025 to help sustain the initiative. We've spent the second half of this year working on rolling out our state debt product, which I'd like to discuss next. Next slide, please. What's unique about the New Jersey Green Bank's offering is it can lend across broad investment categories to an array of eligible borrowers and over a broad set of terms. In short, we can design and tailor solutions that best fit each project that we see. So we can invest across renewable energy generation, storage, net zero buildings and building retrofit, and zero emission vehicles and related charging and fueling infrastructure. Eligible borrowers for this product include private companies, for nonprofits, academic institutions, municipalities and counties, and state redevelopment agencies and authorities. Next slide, please. We can offer financing for transactions between $1 and $20 million, and we can finance up to 80% of a project's total cost. Our loan term can be up to 10 years, and we can offer senior debt, subordinated debt, or mezzanine financing. Borrowers can propose their preferred terms in these 3 categories, and we'll take these preferences along with project-specific information to formulaically determine the interest rate on which we can lend. Next slide, please. To be considered for investment, proposed projects or portfolios of projects must be located in New Jersey. They must reduce or avoid greenhouse gas emissions and reduce or avoid emissions of other air pollutants. Projects must have a minimum debt service coverage ratio of 1. They must have an equity commitment from a sponsor, And projects must have all construction work done within accordance of New Jersey prevailing wage. Next slide, please. For folks interested in securing financing from the New Jersey Green Bank, they can reach out to us and share high-level project information via an expression of interest form that's available on our website. We will then follow up with meetings and connect and chat about the project to better understand how and if we can help. The expression of interest, along with lots of other information about our product and our organization, can be found at www.greenbanknj.gov. Next slide, please. We're really excited about the future of the New Jersey Green Bank, and we're committed to investing in projects that help both the climate and ratepayers access low-cost, clean energy. Next slide, please. And finally, here's a summary of the objectives and priority rankings for this initiative, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Carrie, so much for presenting over the Green Bank. My name is Sean Sonneman. I'm a manager on the Clean Energy team at the Economic Development Authority, and looking forward to talking through 3 new initiatives that we have rolled out for this strategic funding plan. As my colleagues mentioned, we welcome your feedback and commentary, as we hope these will really help with both enabling clean energy generation, advanced energy efficiency, reducing emissions for the state, and promoting economic development opportunities across broad sectors and broad communities. To start, I'll start off with Initiative 7, which is expand clean energy generation, transmissions, storage, and grid resiliency. Next slide, please. This initiative aims to tackle the second largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the state, electric generation, which per the latest inventory completed by our partners at DEP, accounts for 17% of all emissions in the state. It's important to note as well that given the other technologies that we're looking to roll out to reduce emissions from the residential, commercial, industrial sectors, and transportation, it's critical that we have a clean grid to power these technologies and really see the maximum environmental benefits that come with deploying these alternative systems. Next slide. So before jumping into the specifics of this initiative, we thought it'd be helpful to give a little bit of background and primer information about recent news you may have seen around electric rates in the state and really across many parts of the country. The simple answer to why electricity prices in New Jersey have recently increased is supply and demand. New Jersey is part of the PJM grid network in the United States, and overall electricity load growth in that regional grid is projected to grow substantially more over the next decade than it has typically grown in the past. Historically, in recent years, annual load growth has been between 1% and 3%, and over the next decade, that's projected to grow substantially at 5% annually. The main reason behind this increase in demand is data centers, which are being deployed throughout the region. They are expected to account for more than 90% of the new power demand estimated by the year 2030, which is a substantial addition to the grid and obviously increasing overall demand, in addition to other overall economic growth and newer technologies being deployed. Because of this imbalance between supply and demand on the grid, we have seen increasing prices for electric rates. New Jersey, unfortunately, is not alone in seeing this. Every state within the larger PJM territory has experienced rate hikes, with neighboring Pennsylvania also seeing between 10 and 20% rate increases over the past few months. While we have seen electricity demand increasing rapidly because of these new demands on the system, supply has not kept in pace, even though there is a backlog of new clean energy generation projects that are waiting for approval to be built and connect to the grid and supply additional power. We've linked a couple additional news articles and resources if you're interested in learning more about this topic. Next slide. So how do we help solve this problem? If you think about the supply and demand issue, increasing supply is certainly an important factor in that. And as shown, it's a bit of a complicated diagram on this slide, but it's a good cost comparison Again, broad trends. This is not project-specific information to certain localities, but general trends across the industry. You can see here that clean energy generation, such as solar, wind, and other related technologies, is not only the cheapest way to provide new power to the grid, but also some of the fastest generation technologies that can be quickly deployed to bring new power onto the grid and help meet this increasing and rising demand, and ideally bring down prices as we help address this imbalance between supply and demand. So with this background, this is kind of frames why we feel that identifying support for new clean energy generation, transmission, and storage is a critical initiative that we look to include in this next strategic funding plan as we devote resources and investments to help enable this new generation to happen. And most importantly, do it in a way that has the environmental benefits that come with clean and renewable generation technologies. Next slide. As you may be aware if you've been following the efforts of the state, that's not to say that we have not been doing work on this initiative already through other funding sources, even though this would be the first time this is showing up in the RGGI funding plan. At the authority, through our NJ Cells or Clean Energy Loan Program, this is a co-lending program that provides discounted financing for both clean energy projects and working capital for clean energy companies in New Jersey. Again, not currently funded with RGGI dollars, but a good example of the types of programming and resources that we have already devoted to this issue to date. Similarly, our colleagues at the BPU have a broad suite of incentives and grants and other incentive program structures to help administer and bring on new clean energy generation to the grid. This includes a variety of solar-related incentives, including increasingly popular community solar program, which was just expanded and announced by the governor as additional capacity in the years to come, to help bring solar online in a way that is accessible, especially to residents in the state who may not have the building capacity or resources to have solar put on site on their own properties. Similarly, our colleagues at the BPU are working hard to roll out the Garden State Energy Storage Program, one of the first utility scale battery incentives in the state that will also importantly balance storage in addition to clean energy generation. Next slide. So let's take a look at a company who participated in the NJ Cells or NJ Clean Energy Loans program with the authority. Solar Landscape is a leading commercial and community solar developer that is headquartered right here in Asbury Park in New Jersey. They previously were awarded a $10 million business expansion loan back in June of 2024 through the NJ Cells program. And this has allowed the company to expand their operations in the state and take on more solar installation projects in New Jersey and across the region. The company planned to use that funding to create over 180 new field and office jobs in the state through both direct and indirect hires, putting people to work to expand the clean energy economy in the state while bringing clean electrons to New Jersey's grid and the wider regional grid. This is one example of the type of innovative financing and support that the authority has worked to help expand the clean energy generation, transmission, storage, and grid resilience in the state. And we look forward to using additional RGGI dollars towards this effort if included in the final strategic funding plan. Next slide, please. Specifically under Initiative 7, our colleagues at the BPU could dedicate funding to programs that provide incentives for grid supply and distributed storage, facilitate additional measures outlined in their grid modernization proceeding to both improve the capacity and functionality of the New Jersey electric grid. Additionally, facilitate co-location of storage to support capacity concerns for building and transportation decarbonization. Having these technologies work in tandem with each other to maximize both the environmental benefit and cost effectiveness of deploying them on the grid. And as outlined previously, providing this increased capacity will also help support ratepayer relief, as investing in increased supply and capacity in the system will help meet a rising demand from other resources. At the authority, we look to utilize RGGI funding under Initiative 7 to provide a broad suite of incentives, financing, or other funding investments for programs, projects, and supportive infrastructure for a variety of clean energy-related technologies. This includes solar in various forms, be it commercial and industrial or grid-scale solar installations, community solar, spotting solar facilities on landfills or other brownfield sites that otherwise are really not being used productively for the state, and even newer innovative ways of implementing solar technologies, such as floating solar, which already has been deployed in the state at several sites with great success. Additionally, we'll look to complement this with battery storage and potentially offshore wind as well. Looking at a variety of technologies to both increase clean energy generation capacity in the state and bring this power online quickly and cost effectively to help our ratepayers in the state see reduced costs in the future. Next slide. Under Initiative 7 priority rankings, 5 of the 6 objectives outlined under RGGI have been marked as critical, demonstrating how impactful this initiative can be if included in the final RGGI strategic funding plan for 2026 to 2028. We welcome your feedback on this topic and the others in this presentation. Next slide. The second new initiative that we are spotlighting today is Initiative 8, Mobilizing Clean Manufacturing and Industry in New Jersey. Next slide. Under Initiative 8, we will tackle other several sectors of the greenhouse gas emissions inventory, including commercial, industrial, and even some parts of waste management. Again, as you hopefully have seen through today's webinar and the webinar yesterday, and if you're able to join us tomorrow, we are looking holistically at this greenhouse gas emissions inventory, trying to target each and every sector where we can for a whole suite of government approach for all of the sources of emissions in the state. Next slide. Again, while this is a new initiative for RGGI funding for the authority, manufacturing has been a key priority investment area under the Governor Murphy administration. Here at the authority, we've had 3 widely successful and quickly oversubscribed rounds of our manufacturing voucher program. This is a program that provides New Jersey manufacturers in state a grant to access new equipment that allows them to increase productivity, efficiency, and profitability in the state, bringing on equipment that can also provide for additional manufacturing-related jobs in the state that typically are higher paying than other sectors, and of course, provide increased resiliency and capacity for in-state products and manufacturing across the supply chain. Under this program, specifically targeted industries were clean energy, offshore wind, and advanced transportation logistics. Currently, however, the program is targeting manufacturing equipment broadly and does not necessarily have a direct incentive for low or zero emission equipment that would really help offset the emissions from the manufacturing sector itself. Additionally, you may have seen in the news that Governor Murphy recently signed a new tax credit program in place, dedicating $500 million for the Next NJ Manufacturing Tax Credit Program that provides tax credits for companies investing in the state through increased manufacturing capacity and, importantly, job creation that comes with that. This tax credit program, which will have more details announced very soon by the authority, includes a 2-year, $100 million set-aside specifically for clean energy-related companies that are looking to take advantage of this tax credit program as they bring new jobs and advanced manufacturing capacity to the state of New Jersey. Next slide. To give you one example of the types of companies that have been able to take advantage of the manufacturing voucher program, spotlighting Power Magnetics, Inc. This is a local Trenton-based company that designs and manufactures custom transformers, AC reactors, and DC inductors, all of which are critical components for not only the solar power industry, but the overall electric grid in the state and broadly across the country. They were awarded nearly $100,000 in a Phase 2 voucher of the MVP program for a new industrial oven and advanced coil winding machine, allowing the company to have increased manufacturing capacity and also contributing importantly to essential components for the clean energy supply chain and overall electricity. These are important facilities that are located right in New Jersey and often an overlooked sector of the power of the state and our economy in promoting a broad suite of manufacturing and other related activities. Next slide. So under Initiative 8, we will look to use RGGI funding for a few separate options. One would be providing incentives, financing, or other investments for projects that decarbonize or potentially electrify existing industrial processes and manufacturing equipment. This could be done by incentivizing zero emission or low emission equipment carve-outs under the existing manufacturer voucher program, which currently is oversubscribed with funding. Again, these two opportunities here would look to reduce the emissions that come from the manufacturing and industrial sector within the state. Additionally, we could look to innovate and incentivize the adoption of innovative waste management processes and equipment for issues such as battery recycling, plastics collection and recycling, food waste diversion, composting, and related waste emissions management. This, if you're looking back on the emissions sectors in the greenhouse gas inventory, is part of that waste management process, which has a lot of overlap and thematic abilities that are similar to manufacturing and industry broadly. So again, we're very excited to have this new initiative be included in the strategic funding plan for 26 to 28, and we welcome your feedback and commentary. Next slide. Important to note that the magnitude ranking of a net reduction in greenhouse gas emissions would be marked critical for this Initiative 8. Next slide. And finally today, we are going to highlight Initiative number 9, enhancing the clean energy supply chain, workforce, and technology development in the state. Jump to the next slide, please. So similar, if you think to the ability of the Green Bank to tackle a variety of greenhouse gas emission sources in the inventory, we strongly believe that Initiative 9 has a similar capacity for cross-cutting sector advancements in emissions reduction capability. If you think about it, we need not only the funding and financing for existing technologies, but also need to be supporting the advancement of new technologies and new alternatives to be used for the ongoing climate crisis and global warming in the state and broadly across the globe. The idea behind this initiative is that by building out the capacity of the New Jersey's in-state workforce and in-state technology development and overall supply chain, we are providing the state with the future capacity for emissions reduction technology, putting these capabilities in state, and of course, seeing a variety of economic benefits that come with this investment. Next slide. Specifically, the authority could dedicate funding for projects and programs that provide incentives, financing, or other funding investments for clean energy, supply chain, and related manufacturing development in the state. And you may be saying, well, this is kind of what I heard in the last initiative. While that initiative is looking specifically at reducing emissions from all manufacturing and industrial processes broadly, this would be focusing in on specifically clean energy generation and related technology supply chain and capacity in the state to make those types of technologies for those types of companies and products. In addition to that, we would look to potentially invest in clean energy technology that is more cutting edge, or we'll call an emerging clean energy generation technology. This includes examples such as fusion and tidal energy, which may not be quite ready for commercial scale, but are seen as a frequent capacity factor that can improve clean energy generation broadly as a new tool in the toolbox for promoting clean power in the state and in the region. One of the ways we can also do this is through putting funding towards innovation hubs and clean energy technology accelerators, which I'll talk more about in the next few slides, as well as important clean energy generation and related technologies workforce development. And this would be training and educational support to provide New Jersey workforce with the skills and educational know-how to use these technologies and bring about a cleaner economy in the state. Next slide. Again, as you may have seen a common theme throughout this presentation, just because this is a new initiative that we would be deploying RGGI dollars with, this is not a new area of work for the state across broadly all three agencies. There's been a variety of funding efforts to date for workforce-related development around broad sectors of clean energy. This includes grants and other training programs, as well as working alongside our other partners across the state, such as Department of Labor, to provide funding for increased workforce capacity through training programs, wraparound support services, and other support that allows for specific training for workforce around transportation, buildings, and clean energy generation and related supply chain. You can see some of these grants and related programs highlighted here, with additional work ongoing across the state as we look to both unlock the capacity in the state to take on this work, but also see the several environmental and economic benefits that come with this increased capacity. We've done important work across the state level to plan and identify where the targeted sectors should be and where potentially there are gaps in existing workforce training programs to help New Jersey remain at the cutting edge of this area. Next slide, please. Now, I mentioned before in the 2 slides back about the possibility for technology centers and accelerators and innovation hubs. And one of the pathways that New Jersey is currently doing this is through deployment of strategic innovation centers. These have been a key priority under the Governor Murphy administration and are really unique and novel approaches to bringing partners together for promotion of innovation, which broadly is a priority for not only supporting existing technology, but making sure that the next technologies and the next critical pieces of infrastructure are born and bred right here in New Jersey. These strategic innovation centers are accelerators or incubators for startup companies and other research and development efforts, and bring together various partners across the state around a common industry initiative or a common theme, typically from higher education, industry, state, and other related partners that provide mentorship, networking opportunities, as well as practical training and business support services to enable additional research, advanced technology, and allow entrepreneurs and innovation in the state to grow their business ideas, bringing new jobs and new industries across the state that come from this investment. New Jersey has seen this as a great model to replicate across a variety of industries, and we've done this up and down the state. Next slide. You can see here a broad range of new strategic innovation centers that have been rolled out under the Governor Murphy administration across a variety of industries and sectors with various strategic partners that are both large multinational corporations, strong academic institutions in the state, and very proud that these cover a wide variety of the state's geography up and down North, Central, and South Jersey, allowing for increased opportunity and economic advancement across the entire state. I'll highlight 2 of them briefly here that touch on important aspects of clean energy technology advancement in New Jersey. Next slide. In Newark, we are proud to support and invest alongside SOSV in the Hack Center, which is the world's first and most active accelerator for hard technology startup companies focused on industrial, human health, and climate-related endeavors. This is technology that you can pick up and touch and hold in your hand and has practical applications to tackle these complex industries and complex problems of the future. Through the investment of the Economic Development Authority in this program, new companies receive hands-on engineering support and additional investment from other investors in the state and across the world, as well as collaboration to share resources with other companies, lab space, interns, and connections with academic partners in the state. Again, a great example of how strategic innovation centers and investments in new technologies and new companies not only brings about support for emerging technologies, but lets this growth happen right here in New Jersey, bringing local jobs and local opportunities with it. Next slide. More recently, and slated to open soon in the new year, the second HAX facility, or the HAX Plasma Forge, is an innovation hub specifically focused on plasma technologies, which is an important technology not only in the fusion energy space, but also other related technology areas around microelectronics, space propulsion, and quantum computing. Very cutting edge, very high technology stuff that will also have several economic benefits as new companies are supported through this incubator and grow and allow for job creation right here in the state. This is strategically located near the Princeton Plasma Physics Lab down in Princeton, New Jersey, and includes a partnership with Princeton University for bringing some of the great academic institutions in the state. And as well, we've noted this is investments from the authority where we can see the returns on these as companies advance and grow from these accelerators and allow for new technologies to be generated and grown right here in the state. Next slide. And so while we may not see an immediate net reduction through the deployment of this investment, we have also, of course, marked as critical the co-benefits that come with this support. And critically, we've seen that this will be an enhanced capacity for clean energy generation and reduction in emissions or net sequestration of carbon in the near future. We're excited to include this initiative in the strategic funding plan. And again, welcome your feedback and comments on what else might be included or any feedback on this approach. And with that, I will open the floor up for public comment and turn it back over to Helene to talk through the logistics of doing that. And once again, on behalf of the Economic Development Authority, greatly appreciate your attendance today. And if you're able to join us for all of our RGGI webinars, we really appreciate your feedback and input into the next strategic funding plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, and a big thank you to EDA for providing that very thorough overview of their potential funding initiatives. I know I've personally learned a lot about all that they're doing at the EDA. So now we're going to pivot to hear from our webinar attendees. So this is a little confusing. We've been trying to really figure out how best to explain what needs to happen here. So right now, all of the attendees are blocked from unmuting themselves. So one by one, as you raise your hand, you're going to be queued up, and then we can unblock your microphone. But then you, as an attendee, will have to click on your microphone to unmute yourself. So we've had some technical difficulties at the last few webinars. So we'll try to work through those today as well, and hopefully be able to hear all of your great comments. As always, if you'd rather not vocalize your comment, you can also just enter it into the chat. We will be recording all of our participants' comments today and compiling those received through our other channels. And all of this information will inform our final strategic funding plan. Our comment period formally closes on September 22nd. So just as a reminder, you have until then if you need to process some of this information or want to come back and provide us comments later on this month. And I also want to emphasize, like I did at the other webinars, that we really want your feedback. We can't make change happen in this space without you guys, applying for this funding, being participants in these programs. So, your voice really does matter here. So with that, I'm going to open the floor if folks want to raise their hand, and that's how they will be added to the queue to be able to speak. Again, to raise your hand, it's just the little hand icon that says raised. Awesome. Looks like first up we have Richard. If we could unblock Richard so that they may unmute themselves. All right, Richard, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yes, I think it's, you should be hearing me now, yes?
Yep, sure do. Thank you.
I heard mention of tidal generation. There's also wave generation. I know there's at least one company in the state that's publicly traded. That's how I know. That's working on wave technology. So that's one thing I wanted to bring forward. And the other thing is hydro generation. I was basically raised, there's a comment that if there's moving water, there's energy. And living up in British Columbia for a while, that whole province runs on BC Hydro, for a good part of it. So we have a lot of moving water here in the state through creeks, mostly, that could be tapped. I know in my township, we looked at that back in the 80s. Technology didn't work for it because it needed to have a certain amount of water drop, and the level drop behind a dam, certain amount of footage. But I just wanted to put that forward that that there is hydro generation technology that's come along. There's wave generation that's also moving along, and those are my comments.
Don, if you want to chime in or respond.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Richard. Definitely appreciate the feedback. Certainly, we are open to all of the above. Fusion and Tech title were just highlighted as examples, but had an etc. there. So certainly not an exhaustive list, and we'll keep that in mind as we flesh out additional programs, assuming this makes it in the final plan. So yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, up next we have Daniel. So if we could please unmute yourself, Daniel. It looks like you are unblocked and you should be able to unmute yourself now. There you go. We are not hearing you though. You're speaking. You might need to check your audio input on the.
Can you hear
Oh,
me?
oh, I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, excellent. I just want to say thank you guys for all that you do. Sorry, I'm on my phone. My question is, any thoughts about, hydrogen fuel cells and combined heat and power and carbon capture? I'm really interested in seeing what the states, if you guys would support any of those initiatives.
Yeah, definitely welcome the feedback on fuel cell specifically. If you were able to join yesterday, we talked about a hydrogen fuel cell truck demonstration project that we are currently operating out of the Port of Newark and Elizabeth. So we certainly are open to all these various technologies as most appropriate depending on the application. And really, that initiative 9 is meant to do just that. Offer alternative pathways for additional research and development and these kind of emerging technologies that have environmental benefits. And again, we welcome additional formal comments if you have further specifics or if you want to chat with us afterwards. We're always happy to chat.
Excellent. Yeah, I definitely will further submit those comments.
Great.
I'll also add that those are eligible technologies for investment from the New Jersey Green Bank. So our product is really broad and can already accommodate opportunities like that if you're interested.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, up next, I see Matt has his hand raised. So Matt, you should be able to unmute yourself and provide a comment.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Matt Polsky. Some of you know that I helped start this area 25 years ago, and I try to check in every so often, see how you're doing. And you're always coming up with, great new things. So I will start there. But another constant problem, which is still continuing, is it's your culture. You see things as programs, and everything has to be quantified, and matrices, processes, and so forth. And that has great advantage. But I rarely see you guys say, "What are we missing?" Let's really occasionally go out of the box, talk amongst ourselves, take input. Brainstorm. I know you'll get a lot of crap, but this is how you get great stuff. So especially when you use terms like innovation, you have to take it seriously, which is not always the case. You have to really be open to things that you don't expect to get. I think you're back to the person who gives you the idea with a pro or con, or at least a discussion. Just as a few examples, 25 or so years ago, we had this super pioneering Office of Sustainable Business. So yes, there is overlap with the direction you're now going, but it had the seeds of taking it much further. It was beginning to encourage basically a transformation in the sustainability of business in New Jersey. Now, very, very stupidly, in my opinion, it was killed after, a few governors after Whitman. But you could always go back to it. But it never seems to come up. I think most of you who've come along, the next generation, don't even know that we had it. And it was an amazing innovation. Again, I'll keep it short, but there's other things that you're missing. So I'm glad that you have these kind of sessions, because I sense that you're really taking these kind of things seriously. But I will send you sometime in the next week a report that my Ramapo College class did that will give you many, many new ideas. I'll slap on some of my own. It'll be pretty long. And frankly, I've done this before, over the last 8 to 20 years, and I typically do not get a response. So this is the last time I'm going to do it. So I hope you will get it, you will look at it, you will take it seriously. If you get back to me and my students, that would be wonderful, but you don't have to. But, so I guess I'll stop there. So again, my summary is you're doing wonderful work. I appreciate what you're doing. But occasionally ask yourselves, seriously, what are we missing? Because the future is going to be very serious. We have major problems, and we're going backwards. We don't have the federal support anymore, and they're actually becoming our enemy. So we're going to have to innovate like crazy, which means, by definition, questioning your assumptions. So I hope you guys, including the next generation that I see coming in, absorb that as part of your culture. And I hope that makes some sense to you guys.
No, definitely 100%. I think, the journey to decarbonize New Jersey is going to be a long game to play, and we need to have all options on the table, and all ideas on the table. So of course, we always appreciate your feedback, Matt, and that your push to encourage us state agencies to think outside the box is so important. All right. Does anybody else would like to provide a comment? I don't see any other hands up at the moment, so I'll just give a few more minutes here. Oh, okay. Looks like Victoria. You could unmute yourself and please provide a comment. And so to unmute yourself, oh, there you go.
Got it. Great, thank you. This is about the Garden State Clean CPACE program. That CPACE stands for Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. And the effort started in 2012, and the law for allowing this program, which allows commercial buildings, including nonprofits and public institutions like hospitals, to be able to decarbonize, to do energy efficiency and renewable energy using private capital in a win-win triangle that involves municipalities approving the law and opting into New Jersey's program, and lenders who have very tight underwriting standards, and commercial building owners that are skeptical and want to play. They want to do this. This is made, I think, when we think the probably the most important way to finance commercial decarbonization, because what it does is it takes so much of the risk out of the property owner to have a long-term commitment to paying back the costs, because all of the hard and soft costs are attached to the property itself as a special assessment. And it is a breakthrough that has generated $10 billion in the country in just a few states. Now, there are many states that have programs, but in states where there is government support and marketing, they just blow the top off these kinds of goals and have more viral support, more viral uptake. There are so many financial benefits to commercial property owners to use CPACE funding that we can't go into it right now on the call. But what's missing, and across all states, The laws don't require public investment. No taxpayer dollars are supposed to be invested in this. However, the payoff for the public and for municipalities in having their commercial building stock upgraded and able to handle emergencies so people can take showers, plug in cell phones, and that's just the high level. But New Jersey's program also innovated in being able to do resiliency and pay for that with private funding over a 30-year time span. So what I'm looking for is some special marketing dollars, and they could be applied in any way that the agency wants to, but marketing needs to happen for property owners and lawyers and all of the commercial real estate industry to spread this knowledge so every eligible commercial building owner knows that they have the option to upgrade their property with no out-of-pocket cost or build their new buildings with up to 35% of the capital stack covered in private financing that is extremely attractive to both investors and to owners. So what I'd like to see is some huge marketing push, which is different from having a program that lists 75 programs that they can take advantage of, and they're so confused they don't know where to go. This is a very separate kind of marketing effort, and it's being done all over the country. We are very late to the game, but there's so much that has already been done that we could follow to have commercial, to really knock it out of the park with the CPACE program.
Yeah. I see that Dan did drop a comment. Response to that, which I've now lost. Oh yeah, he says, appreciate the comment on CPACE, which is not funded by RGGI, and NJEDA is actively working on promoting the program, which was fully launched on July 30th. So yeah, and I concur. It does seem like it's a great complement to RGGI funded initiatives and could be something that, you know, some funding goes towards marketing that and making sure that there's a lot of uptake of the incentives.
Thank you.
Great. Yep. All right, up next we have Michael. Michael, please unmute yourself.
Okay, hello there. How are you doing?
Good, how you doing? Thanks for coming today.
Oh, pretty good. I think I've met multiple individuals from NJEDA over the last couple of years, trying to help some of the manufacturers with the manufacturer voucher program. I was wondering if there was like a 3 to 5 year like look ahead for like what those like incentives or kind of how the program's laid out. We kind of get a notification, hey, phase 3 opened up, and then within a week, everything is spoken for. I didn't know if there was any kind of, and maybe this isn't the right call to ask the questions, but I was just curious if there was any more information on the look ahead for the MVP program, because it's awesome, and many manufacturers would love to take advantage of it, and it's a great program.
Someone from EDA can speak. Oh, thanks, Sean.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Michael, for calling in. Appreciate the comments as always. At this time, MVP does not have any immediate funding, as I'm sure we're aware, but the intent with including money for manufacturing in the strategic funding plan would hopefully let us allocate some additional dollars for that in the future. That being said, it would definitely be geared towards the energy efficiency or low or zero emission type manufacturing equipment, not necessarily manufacturing equipment broadly, but happy to connect you offline with our manufacturing team to talk further.
Okay, sounds great.
Part of it is that program is kind of funded with state budget allocation, so it's always a little bit subject to the state budget each year as it comes out. But hopefully this will be an additional funding source that can complement
rolling the clean energy into some kind of incentive, and that's yeah. Okay, sounds great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the comment.
Thank you.
If anyone else would like to provide a comment, you feel free to raise your hand. And then you can see on the slide, we've highlighted the 4 initiatives that we were discussing today. I see there's some comments in the chat. So thank you, Matt, for your plan to circulate some articles for us to review. We'll make sure to do that. And thank you to Sean for attending and for providing comment. If I don't see any other hands raised, I think we can move on then and close out the webinar. So as always, there are other ways to comment. Feel free to visit our webpage. We have a comment form there where you can submit a comment, or if you'd rather email us directly, you can do that at njreggie@dep.nj.gov. And we still have one more webinar that's upcoming. That will be tomorrow at 1 p.m. And our focus of discussion tomorrow will be building decarbonization and ratepayer relief opportunities. So, we encourage you to attend. And thank you so much for attending today. I appreciate all and everyone here. So thank you. Oh, and I see Matt has his hand up. I don't know, Matt, if you want to provide one final parting thought.
Yeah, a short one. I've been working heavily with the agricultural community now that I live in Northwest Jersey, very far from Trenton. And it seems to me that you're missing a lot of potential there. This might have been more appropriate yesterday when you talked about sequestration. I know, Helene, I sent you an article yesterday about Kernza. There's relatively new grain that's getting a lot of attention that has, enormous carbon sequestration potential. It's still got a lot of bugs in it. But it's the kind of out-of-the-box thing I was talking about. So I wish you guys would focus a little bit more on rural agriculture and try to figure out what the possibilities are, because right now it's really not in there. Thank you.
We'll take a look at that and consider that. This New Jersey did release a natural working land strategy that talks about agriculture in that space maybe a year or 18 months ago. So definitely, if there's going to be a refresh of that report, something to consider. Well, thank you again, everybody, for hung on for the last final gasp of this webinar. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.